The wedding day of Mary of Teck and George V. On July 6, 1893, Prince George, Duke of York, married Princess Victoria Mary of Teck in a royal wedding held at the Chapel Royal in St. James's Palace, marking the first royal wedding there since Prince Albert's death in 1861. The wedding came after Princess Mary was initially engaged to Prince George's deceased brother, and despite initial uncertainties, their relationship blossomed into a deep and successful partnership. The occasion was celebrated with elaborate festivities, including a procession through crowded streets and Princess Mary's wedding dress featuring traditional symbols and lace from her mother's gown, underscoring the blend of personal significance and royal tradition. On the 6th of July 1893, Prince George, who would later become King George V, married Princess Victoria Mary of Teck. Princess Victoria Mary of Teck was previously engaged to Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence, the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. However, the engagement ended with his death on the 14th of January 1892. Queen Victoria, the prince's grandmother, was keen to secure the royal line of succession and wanted Prince George, now second in line to the throne, to marry either Princess Marie or Princess Victoria Melita of Edinburgh. Although George was fond of his cousins, he preferred not to rush into marriage, citing the tragic death of Crown Prince Rudolf of Austria as a cautionary example. He also expressed that he could never marry someone who did not love him, as it would make him unhappy forever. Despite this, a marriage proposal to Marie was made in 1892, but she rejected him due to the influence of her mother and governess. Queen Victoria still liked Princess Mary, and suggested that she marry Prince George. The situation was complicated, as the public and the media expected this new engagement, putting pressure on Mary, who was still mourning the Duke. George was unsure of Mary's feelings towards him, especially after losing confidence following Marie's rejection. Encouraged by his aunt, Queen Olga, George finally proposed to Mary after several tentative and awkward meetings. One memorable meeting happened on the 3rd of May 1893, when Mary went for tea at the home of George's sister, Princess Louise, Duchess of Fife, and her husband. To her surprise, George was also there. Princess Louise helped break the ice by suggesting George show Mary the frogs in the garden pond. There, George proposed, and their engagement was announced the next day. Despite the rocky start, the couple grew to deeply care for each other, and the marriage turned out to be successful. The Socialist League protested against the expensive royal wedding. They put up posters saying the London anarchists will meet in Hyde Park on Sunday, 2nd of July at 3:30 to protest against the lavish spending on these royal vermin while workers suffer from hunger and overwork. Workers, get ready for the revolution, and remember, to be free you must act. Down with flunkism. Thomas Cantwell and Ernest Young, members of this group, were caught putting up these posters and were arrested. Although the police searched their offices, the case against them was eventually dropped. Prince George, Duke of York, married Princess Victoria of Teck at 12:30 in the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace. On the day of their wedding, Prince George unexpectedly saw his fiancée down a long corridor at Buckingham Palace, and he made a respectful bow, a gesture Princess Mary always remembered. The pair would be married on a very hot day on the 6th of July 1893, after being engaged for only 2 months. This day was quite different from the rainy wedding day of his grandmother, Queen Victoria, in 1840, and also unlike the cold January day in 1858, when Queen Victoria's eldest daughter got married. The wedding brought back memories for Queen Victoria, who had been a widow for 32 years, as she watched her grandson marry at the same place her husband, Prince Albert, had stood during their own wedding. As Queen Victoria had done at the wedding of her youngest son, Prince Leopold, in 1882, she again wore the bridal veil that she had worn in the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace in 1840. The royal family travelled from Buckingham Palace to St. James's Palace in 4 grand carriage processions. Spectators crowded the streets to watch and cheer for the couple, giving them a warm welcome. Princess Mary acknowledged the crowd with a shy smile and a small wave of her hand. Princess Victoria Mary was joined by 10 bridesmaids, including George's sisters and cousins, at the ceremony. The wedding was officiated by the Archbishop of Canterbury, assisted by the Bishop of London and other church leaders. After the ceremony, George and Mary went to Buckingham Palace, where even Queen Victoria appeared on the balcony, a rare event since her mourning period began. Following their wedding, Mary was officially known as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York. The newlyweds spent their honeymoon at Sandringham in Norfolk, then visited Queen Victoria at Osborne House. The wedding dress of Princess Victoria Mary of Teck was designed by Arthur Silver from the Silver Studio. He had previously designed a dress called Lily of the Valley for her planned wedding to the Duke of Clarence in Avondale in 1892, which was never worn due to his sudden death. For her wedding to Prince George, Duke of York, a new design called the May Silks was chosen. This dress featured intricate embroidery with rose, shamrock and thistle motifs, and was adorned with orange blossoms and lover knots, symbols traditionally used in royal wedding gowns. The dress was made by Linton & Curtis on Almery Street in London. Its front was crafted from white satin with 3 layers of old Honiton lace, which had been previously used on her mother's wedding dress. The bodice was designed with high pointed cut and made of white and silver brocade, incorporating more of her mother's Honiton lace around the top and on the upper sleeves. Princess Mary wore a veil that also belonged to her mother, pinned in place with diamond pins that were a gift from Queen Victoria. To complement the theme, small wreaths of orange blossom were added around the bust and in her hair. She accessorized her wedding attire with a diamond tiara, a diamond necklace from Prince and Princess of Wales, and diamond earrings from an anchor brooch gifted by Prince George. The bodice was designed with a high cut at the throat and extended into a long, pointed shape, made of a white and silver brocade fabric designed by Silver. It also included a touch of her mother's Honiton lace at the top and on the upper sleeves. Over her shoulders she wore a rich satin cloak known as a manta de corps. The train of the dress was long and simple, although there were reports that there was no train at all. The veil, also inherited from her mother and made of Honiton lace, was secured with diamond pins, a gift from Queen Victoria. To complement the theme of orange blossoms found on the dress, small wreaths were placed around the bust and in her hair. Interestingly, the veil was the only item from her wedding attire that she never wore again. An observer from the Times noted on the 8th of July 1893 that Princess Mary entered her wedding to the tune of the Bridal March. She looked very pretty with her eyes downcast and cheeks flushed. Her dress of silver and white brocade was simple yet elegant, decorated with clusters of shamrocks, roses and thistles. Contrary to some reports, the dress did not have a hindering train, and a plain bodice highlighted her figure. Her bridal veil pulled back from her face, and clusters of orange blossoms, along with a bouquet of white flowers in her hand, completed her stunning appearance.